After getting taken out in the final corner at Qatar and surviving an all-out war at Jerez, I'm looking to bounce back into the top 10 here at round 6 of my Moto3 rookie season. Now, Le Mans is a pretty fun track, but the AI, absolutely lightning quick around here. We had a wet qualifying session, which means I'm starting dead last again. But if Jerez taught us anything, it's that starting from the back doesn't have to be a problem. The lights go out and I don't drop too far back. In fact, I'm already picking off a few riders as we head into turn 1. The AI bunch up massively into turn 1, so I swing around the outside and go hard on the brakes for the tight chicane, where chaos is pretty much guaranteed. I'm a bit of a naughty boy here and cut the inside curb, which earns me my first track limits warning. I expected to have to drop a position or two, but somehow, I get away with it. Now we head to La Chapelle, one of those corners where the AI are insanely fast. Almanza comes flying in with the first dive bomb of the video, but I stay cool, cut back underneath, and retake 10th. I feel strong on the brakes into Musée, but on corner exit, I'm struggling with traction. And it's the same story again into turn 8, Garage Vert. I make up some ground on the brakes, but lose it all again, getting back on the throttle. Almanza uses the slipstream and pulls alongside me on the run up to turn 9, so I go defensive and cover the inside. I run a little wide in 9, which forces me to cut turn 10 ever so slightly, but just enough to pick up another track limits warning. Then we dive into turn 11, probably my strongest corner on this track, and I immediately close the gap to the front 9. I give Kelso a little nudge heading into turn 12, then swap paint with Bertel as I sweep around the outside into turns 13 and 14. But the adrenaline from this first lap is kicking in hard, and I'm starting to get messy. I cut turn 14 big time, and that's my third track limits warning out of 5 on the opening lap alone. 2 more, and I'm looking at a long lap penalty. Once again, I'm super strong through the Dunlop corner and late on the brakes into the chicane. But then, there it is. I cut the second part of the chicane, and now I'm right on the edge. No more warnings, no more mistakes. One more track limits violation, and I'm getting the penalty. And that would basically be race over. And don't forget, we're only just into lap 2 out of 6 as I survive yet another dive bomb through La Chapelle. Coming out of Musée, Bertel tries to get past but ends up clipping my rear wheel instead. I take a wider line through Garage Vert, trying to get a better exit, and right in front of me, Keels almost bins it. That little moment gives me just enough to dive into a slipstream and close the gap to the front 7. I'm super cautious through turns 9 and 10. I can't afford to repeat that track limits mistake from lap 1. But because of that, Bertel is right back on my tail. Then, heading into turn 11, Rulestone crashes right in front of us, gifting me another position. And now, the front group is right there. I'm on the absolute limit, but it's going well. I struggle with traction coming out of the chicane as we dive into La Chapelle again. Trying to stop the inevitable dive bomb, I brake as late as I possibly dare. Of course, that sends me wide. And Bertel slips through anyway. We're side by side into Musée, but now it's my turn. He runs wide and I cut back underneath. It's absolutely fantastic racing between us. And we're still wheel to wheel as we charge into Garage Vert once more. And going through Garage Vert, I've got to give credit where it's due. Bertel absolutely nails it. Yeah, I was on the outside, but he didn't do anything reckless. Braked at the right time, held his line, and completely shut the door on me. Honestly, you've got to appreciate the AI in moments like that. But there's no time to dwell, because now Almanza's back on me again, charging down the straight toward turns 9 and 10. And then, it's Yamanaka who loses the front. Bertel has to pick the bike up to avoid running straight into him. And I slip through on the inside, just missing Yamanaka's bike as it slides right across the racing line. Then I come so close to cutting turn 11, really playing with fire here. But luckily, it's just on the edge, not over it. I'm now up into 6th, almost at the halfway point, and I'm still right there with the leaders. Heading into La Chapelle, it's déjà vu. Same story as last lap, but this time with Almanza. He's pretty aggressive in this game, so again, I brake late to block the dive bomb, which sends me wide. Almanza slips through on the inside, but I carry more speed from the wider line and cut back across him into Musée. Now we're side by side once again, heading toward Garage Vert. But this time, I'm holding the inside. Let's see if I can make it stick. I'm later on the brakes, fully committed to holding the inside, but with Qatar still in the back of my mind, I'm trying not to overdo it. In the second part of the corner, Almanza finds a sliver of space on the inside, but I keep it pinned around the outside. No backing down. The front five are now over 2 seconds up the road, so this is officially a fight for sixth. Almanza stays aggressive but can't quite get through, while Lunetta does manage to dive down my inside into my favorite corner, turn 11. I cut back underneath and swing across to block him into turn 12. But I go a little wide, try another cutback while flirting with the track limits, but it's not enough. Lunetta's through. I go in late on the brakes and drop 2 gears. The rear steps out, the front loses grip, and I've got no choice but to lift the bike up and wait for it to settle. Honestly, that was a massive save. It was either crash or somehow pull this off. So I'll take it. Now at least I'm still in the fight for the final points positions. My rejoin isn't exactly pretty, but I slot back into 15th. Just ahead of my teammate and right behind O'Shea and Scott Ogden. Things stay unchanged through lap 5. But as we start the final lap here at Le Mans, my tires are really starting to go. I'm struggling for traction, and coming out of the chicane, my teammate slips past, knocking me out of the points. But then he runs a little wide in La Chapelle, and I cut back underneath. Still fighting the rear grip, I push him wide. But he isn't done. He sends it into Musée with a full-on dive bomb. But it's too much for his front tire. He slides out of contention right in front of me, and just like that, I'm back in the points. I've got a 1-second gap to Nepa behind me, which should be enough to cling on to that final point. But my rhythm is completely gone, and with it, my pace. Then, out of nowhere, I get one last gift. Buchanan crashes coming out of Garage Vert, handing me another position, and another valuable point. Even though I'm really struggling through that final sector and Nepa gets way too close for comfort, I hold on to 14th. Another one of those what could have been results. Next up, Silverstone. And honestly, I feel like I need a good result here. I'm not exactly keen on doing a second Moto3 season, but to avoid that, I've got to stop messing up and start putting real points on the board. In practice, I actually felt really good at Silverstone. I narrowly missed out on Q2, but my race pace feels strong. I think I've got a real shot at a top 10 finish. For the first time in this entire career, I actually nail the start, already gaining a few spots as we dive into Abbey Corner. I carry the speed around the outside and find plenty of space to finish the move, which puts me straight into 10th. I pass Rulestone almost immediately to move up to 9th, then keep it steady through Village before going for a major dive bomb down the inside of Bertel for 8th. We swap a little paint, but I get the move done through the fast turn 5. What follows is honestly the calmest opening lap I've experienced in Moto3 so far. Everyone around me holding position. As we kick off lap 2, I've already caught up to Alex Carpe. I close the gap through Abbey in turn 2, then send a slightly wobbly dive down the inside into Village. Bit of a scare, but it sticks. And now the top 6 are only a few tenths ahead. Like I said, I feel like I've got great race pace here. I'm feeling good, but I've also felt good in previous races. Right before crashing, making dumb mistakes, or getting yeeted into oblivion. So let's keep it steady and see if I can close that gap to Nepa and Keels. I take my first track limits warning for granted and close right up to both of them heading into Brooklands, as they're locked in a battle of their own. I dive into the first gap I see on Keels, but he parries my attack and fights back immediately through Luffield. The raw speed of his KTM gives him a slight edge through Woodcote as he reels Nepa in, who's also on a slower Honda. Into Maggots, Keels stays tucked in behind, but I send it with a bold move around the outside. Once again, Keels parries beautifully, coming right back through into Beckett's. Another awesome fight with the AI. I carry way more speed out of Chapel and onto the hanger straight, but that KTM power is no joke. I just can't get out of his slipstream. Heading into Stowe, Keels defends bravely. I still can't find a way through. But I've been strong on the brakes into Vale, and once again, I take a wide, sweeping line and hit the apex just ahead of Keels, passing him clean around the outside. That's P6, and the front 5 are still right there. Honestly, if I keep this up, a podium might actually be on the table. We're entering lap 3 and hitting the halfway point, and I'm right in the mix. Nepa has the tiniest wobble on the curbs through Club Corner, and it compromises his exit just enough. I go for the move down the inside of Abbey, but he's immediately looking to strike back. He gets back through coming out of Village, but runs slightly wide through the loop. I let the bike drift a little wide on exit to block any overlap. And going into turn 5, I'm up into 5th. The front 4 are still over a second ahead, and I just can't close the gap. The tires are starting to go. Through Maggots and Beckett's on the final lap, I can feel the front tire going cold. My 1-second cushion to Keels vanishes in an instant as the bike lifts into a wheelie during the direction change to Chapel. Now I'm suddenly at risk of losing 5th heading into Stowe. But in the end, I keep it tight and manage to hold off Keels behind me. I stay calm through the final sector and finally bring home a top 5 finish, my first one in this Moto3 rookie campaign. For now, the championship standings still don't matter much, but it does feel important to carry this momentum into round 8 at Aragon. And I'll be honest, I think my first podium might be on the cards. I topped the practice sheets and went straight into Q2. Let's see if this is the weekend it all comes together. It doesn't look like I've got the 1-lap pace for pole just yet, but on my final qualifying lap, I'm not far off. Just 0.3 to be exact. I brake as late as I possibly can for turn 11, sit the bike up a little, but that unsettles the rear, and I lose the front.
Let's take a look
Down
at
I
the
go.
final ranking of the second
P11
Moto3 class
middle of the 4th
qualifying
row.
session.
Still, it's my best grid spot so far. The lights go out, and while my start isn't quite as good as it was at Silverstone, it's not bad either. Most riders stick to the inside, so I sweep wide just before turn-in and pick off a few. Net gain, 1 position after turn 1. But then my speed advantage through turns 2 and 3 kicks in. I blast past 2 riders and line up a move on Bertel. He defends bravely, but I've got the inside line into turn 5 and make it stick. For now, it's a classic Moto3 brawl on the opening lap. I swap paint with Munoz and Bertel again, and just after turn 7, Perez joins the party, trying to dive down my inside into the corkscrew. I'm not having it. I go in deep, cross the track wildly, almost out of control, and end up taking Perez with me. Bertel and Munoz slip back past, and for now, I'm sitting in P9. All this chaos, and I've only gained 2 spots since the grid. Being a little sloppy, I let Perez through once more. But I fight straight back and even send a dive bomb on Munoz. Now, anyone who follows Moto3 knows, Munoz is a wild one, and his AI version is no different. He doesn't back down for a second. So I fight fire with fire and manhandle him aside through turn 15, heading onto the long straight, back behind Bertel once again, starting lap 2 of 5, and Moodley defends the inside hard on Bertel, compromising both of their lines through turn 1. I cut underneath Bertel, pick up my first track limits warning of the race, and give the position back just for a moment to avoid a penalty. Then I go all in through turns 2 and 3, again, flying past both Bertel and Moodley. Now I've got clear sights on the top 5. The AI here at Aragon doesn't seem fully dialed in. They hug the inside like crazy. Case in point, Alex Carpe compromises his exit, and I blow straight past through turn 6. He tries to stick a nose in at turn 7, but I make the move stick. Next targets, Yamanaka and Piqueras. This time, I'm cleanly through the corkscrew, reeling in Yamanaka. I stay tight through the Marc Marquez corner, trying not to run wide like before. And suddenly, Piqueras comes out of it surprisingly slow. That gives me the window to pass Yamanaka, and now it's side by side with Piqueras into turn 12. I pull off a carbon copy of my move on keels back in Silverstone, sweeping around the outside and beating Piqueras to the apex. Immediately after, Almanza struggles through turn 13 and leaves the door wide open. Easy pass for second. Adrian Fernandez is now just up ahead, leading the race. It takes me a little while to close the gap, but eventually I'm right there. Once again, gaining time through turn 1, and glued to Fernandez's rear tire through turns 2 and 3 as a yellow flag waves in sector 1. But as we head into turns 4 and 5, the battle for the lead begins. Fernandez's defense is solid, barely giving me any room to launch an attack. But eventually, it's into the corkscrew where he flinches first. He runs just slightly wide through the first part, and that pushes him offline through the left-hand switch. I pounce immediately, dive down the inside into the Marc Marquez corner, and force my way into the lead. By the time we reach turns 13 and 14 again, I've already opened up a half-second gap. By the time I start lap 4 out of 5, I've stretched the gap to around a second, even set the fastest lap of the race. Fast forward another lap, and I've managed that 1 second lead perfectly, without having to push over the limit. So with 1 lap to go, there's nothing that could stop me from taking my first victory, right? I can't believe I almost bottled it, and I really can't believe the front tire held on. Somehow, I managed to keep it upright, make the corner, and not even lose the entire gap. Sure, it cost me some time, but I still bring it home comfortably for my first victory in this career. I'm finally starting to click with the handling in this game, and with the Moto3 bike itself. Realistically, you shouldn't even think about moving to Moto2 if you can't win in Moto3. So I'm glad to finally cross that off the list. And for the first time, I actually checked the standings. And what do you know? I'm not that far off. I'm up to 7th, 67 points behind leader Piqueras. Still a long season ahead. Following my first victory, the game throws another career-defining choice my way. Choose your path. Transfer rumors are making you the talk of the paddock. You can choose to stay where you are, or check out offers from another team. Now I'll admit, I was a little disappointed these are still only Moto3 options. I get it, I haven't built up enough rep for Moto2 yet, but I really hope these offers aren't final. I just need a little more time to prove I'm ready to make the step up. For now, I'm going with the most ambitious Moto3 team that also puts me back on a KTM. Liqui Moly Intact GP. And yes, I know. These are still the old liveries. The update drops somewhere after this race, so you'll see the fresh new looks in a future video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one when we head to 2 of my personal favorites, Mugello and Assen.